Oh, hello there. Welcome in, Mr. Dragon. How are you doing today? Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, I am here in your domain to give you a little bit. I'm trying to give you a little bit of a sales pitch. Is that all right? No, now listen to me. I know that you need hoard insurance. Your hoard has been broken into one too many times. There are many eager adventurers, many hobbits, elves, dwarves, all the like, all coming to try and steal your treasure, to take your hoard. And your hoard may be a complete crapshoot of numerous items of varying quality and value, but we are not here to judge. I'm here to offer you a solution. Okay, you're interested? Okay, all right. Well, how about we get started then? I do have to let you know, hoard insurance, I would say, is pretty important. Honestly, I'm a little surprised a dragon of your age and demeanor hasn't had hoard insurance until now. I mean, hoard insurance has been around. It's only the Middle Ages. However, hoard insurance has been around for perhaps the past couple of years. So really, it's on you that you haven't gotten on this. As an immortal being, I would imagine that you're pretty up with the times. So you don't want to be an old crone, or what have you. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend you or anything. But all right, how about we get started? So, with hoard insurance, we're going to get over the basics. I'm going to go over, your name, just sort of information that we're going to need to sort of file the claim that you want hoard insurance with us. Of course, we use a lot of magical contracts and bindings to make sure that this is all. It's not legally binding, because the king, he doesn't care about this sort of thing. But it is magically binding. So you do not have to worry if something were to go awry or if you find something wrong in the contract. So long as you've signed it, you are on the hook for it. So just make sure that before you sign anything, that we are both comfortable with what's going on. And that sort of thing. And then we're going to go over why have hoard insurance with us, right? So who we are as a company. I represent sort of my establishment, the company of peoples that sort of created the hoard insurance, but also I'll talk a little bit about myself, and then afterwards I'll go over why have insurance at all, right? You are sort of interested, but I can sort of see your eyes glazing over a little bit, and that's okay. We'll just go over why you should have hoard insurance. Of course, next would be the tiers, what tiers will offer you, and then we'll go over some any items that perhaps you would like to have a special insurance over. You'll have your basic insurance that will cover the majority of your hoard. But say you have a valuable item that if you were to lose it, it would be completely devastating towards you. Perhaps we could work something out so that you as a dragon don't raise our company into ashes, and we will be able to say that we helped you in your journey of mental health. So any questions so far, Mr. Dragon? Okay, perfect. So before we go forward, I would like to stop calling you Mr. Dragon. So if you could you give me your name? Okay. It's a pretty long name. Do dragons normally have long names? Guess you go by many things. People have called you many things before, and you know what? That's very fair. Okay, so is this correct over here? Right there? Okay, perfect. Okay, now could you tell me what dragon typing you are? There is, of course, the Western dragon and the Eastern dragon. There are other types of dragons, but those are sort of the main two. There are subsections, so within those within Western and Eastern, there is, of course, like elemental dragons, right? If you're sort of a water dragon or a fire dragon, an earth dragon, there's sort of metal dragons, oh my gosh, if you are a silver dragon, I mean, I would be truly inspired. I think my family, they do own a silver mining business, and it's blossoming really. Of course the smelters are they smell horrible, but if you don't smell horrible, so maybe you're not a silver dragon anyway. So could you tell me? Okay, simple enough. Classic. Okay, could you tell me how long you've been alive for? I'm so sorry, we do not count the years that you've been in your egg, so just from hatching. Okay. Okay. Now, this is more to do with just what sort of dragon are we dealing with. So, how many civilizations have you destroyed, do you think? I know that coming of age as a dragon, you do end up having at the very least 5 to 6. It's part of the party, right? To become sort of a fully fledged dragon, some civilizations need to be destroyed. Just a ballpark for me. Okay. That's pretty good. Okay, so on a level of Hobbit to Orc, could you tell me what attachment level do you have to your Hoard? So basically, how important is your Hoard to you? Do you feel very attached? Do you feel like perhaps if you were to sort of lose any item within your Hoard that you would notice and it would send you into a fury? Or do you think that, you're a bit loosey-goosey with it? If a few things go missing here and there, you're sure they'll turn up, but if they don't, then it's really not a problem for you. Okay. All right. Now, do you have an approximate value? And this doesn't have to be in any form of human currency or elven currency or orcish currency, hobbit currency, any form of humanoid currency. It does not have to be. It could be how you assign value, right? Now, I believe in dragon culture, you hoard a lot of gold and a lot of coinage, one might say, but you don't really count the value through that. You sort of count it. The sentimental value is sort of the only value that matters to you. So if I were to potentially say, if you could give me a unit for the sentimental value that we could measure things in, I think that would be very helpful. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, you'd be surprised. Every dragon uses a different unit. So we used to, back in the early days of our company, we used to assign a unit ourselves. We used to say like, okay, we're going to create a unit. Well, I believe it was called sort of like bumpstons. The value of your Hoard is like 15 bumpstons, right? But dragons don't like being assigned that kind of thing. So we've learned to sort of take a cue from your sort of loner lifestyle, right? And individualistic lifestyle. I know you love absolutely the right to bear fire and to bear fire breath. And, I respect it. I do think that it's not particularly helpful in a lot of circumstances. And, having your fire breath does sometimes cause problems. And perhaps that's why you're a loner. But you know what? That's neither here nor there. Let us discuss, do you have any known hunters? Yes, so this will determine how much we'll be able to offer you some coverage for your Hoard insurance. If you have any known hunters, particularly if there are any that are very, very famous, just anybody that you know of. And don't worry, we will cross-reference it to make sure you're not lying, and we will also cross-reference it to the amount of hunters that you have killed, so that we can see how reliable you are in defending your hoard. Okay, so it's that one, and that one, and that. Okay, and do you have any allies? You know, it's a question we tend to ask, but I know as a dragon it's very, it's unlikely. Okay, yeah. There was one dragon, I think it was a water dragon. She really wanted to protect a particular village that she was nearby. And I thought it was really fascinating because you don't see many dragons that way. Yes, I know, it was very odd, I must say. You know, it's perhaps it was because I don't know. I heard this story about, you know, a woman falling in love with a dragon, and you know, I was wondering if was that dragon her? You know, was it sort of a star-crossed love story? Listen to me. You'd think that I'm telling fairy tales. Okay, so next we are going to have to. When was the last time? I suppose. I'll ask you this. When was the last time you communed with the goddess of the credit report? Yes. Okay, you haven't communed with her in a very long time. That's okay. The goddess of credit report, I do think that since her creation and her introduction, people have had a really hard time with just being able to get people to trust them enough to understand that they will, in fact, pay back their loans and pay back what they owe. You know, it's almost like their word isn't good enough anymore, or that the lifestyle of sort of the medieval person it is simply doesn't sustain them anymore. And in fact, they need to go through this goddess, and this goddess seems to have a very it's got a lot of loopholes. Do you know what that is? Yes, a loophole. She has a lot of loopholes. So I would definitely suggest you commune with her and figure out what those are, you know, just so that you can get all up in it. So anyway, I'm going to move ahead and talk about why us, right? So we provide the best service in the realm. You know, no matter where you go, our company is better than any other company, mainly for the fact that we are, you know, you might say that we have a monopoly, but we don't like that. We have bought other companies that have tried to do something similar, and they often do it better than us. So we just buy them and crush them into the ground, and that way we can just be awful, but be the only choice. So by the best in the realm, it is technically correct. So you can quote me on that. Next, of course, we provide service to both the hunters and the hunted. Now, what's interesting about that is that you would be both. You are a hunter, but you are also the hunted, right? Adventurers come after you. So you qualify for both kinds of coverage, and that puts you in the perfect position where we can help you, right? So we have a flurry of wizards. You know, they have so much talent. You do not understand. We definitely do not exploit them in any way. So I know your mind went there. You know, you've had a lot of dealings with people that exploit other people. We definitely don't do that. They do get 1 meal a day. They get straw to sleep on. And you know what? It's valuable life experience. So, you know, I would say that it's definitely not exploiting anybody. Now, next, let us talk about the claims, right? So, whenever something happens and your horse, say an adventurer comes by, they sneak in while you're sleeping and they take a bit of your coinage, a bit of your items, your jewels, and they skedaddle out of there. Well, then you would have to get in contact with me, and you would say, "Hello, mister. We seem to have a bit of a problem. I'm missing a few of my items, so I would like to process a claim. And once that claim is processed, we will either accept the claim, in which case we would then reimburse you either sentimentally or sort of monetarily, or we reject it because we don't have enough information, or perhaps you are trying to sort of swindle us, right? That we're very wary of that sort of thing. So I am proud to say that our company of Hoard Insurance, every single claim gets processed. That's right. If you process a claim, if you say, hey, someone comes by, we will give you an answer. And you know what? A lot of people will really scoff at that, but that's truly something. Okay. So next, each person is assigned for life. So if you come with us and you sign with us, I am now assigned to you, right? And onto your Hoard Insurance, and that means that I will be assigned to you forever. So really, this is sort of like a contract. Like I said, it's a contract that's binding. We're magically binding. So don't take this lightly. But my life is in your hands. So please understand that I may not look it, but let's just say that I'm not desperate. But what kind of person would say that if they weren't? If you catch my drift. So next, of course, aside from typical payments, because we once a moon, we do need some form of payment, right? So normally it comes in sort of monetary, sort of humanoid currency, and because you are a dragon, you have a hoard, you tend to be able to, what's the word? Pay it. But if you say are too sentimentally attached or emotionally attached to your hoard, you can of course give us your firstborn. It would be your firstborn every month, right? So you would have to get cracking a little bit, but or you could do 2 secondborns. So some people are able to sort of, especially if you're a couple, if it's a couple dragon, and they have all the right bits to be able to create new dragon life, we do end up having a situation where they have their firstborn and they're really attached, and so they instead opt to have 2 secondborns. Now I see what you're saying. How is it 2 secondborns? Well, wouldn't it be a secondborn and a thirdborn? But really, because of the way the contract works and the magical legalities of it all, as soon as that secondborn is born, they are legally ours, and so they don't have a claim on that secondborn anymore, so they don't have a secondborn anymore. And so as soon as that third one comes out, that third one is then technically the second one, and so that becomes 2 secondborns. Now, you can of course go for 3 thirdborns, but we've yet to have anybody really go for that offer. One person tried, but they really did fail, and because of the magical legalities, they did end up getting strung up and basically killed. So it's up to you. Otherwise, there are other options. If you wanted to become scaleless, you can give us your scales once a month. We do know that your scales do regrow, and so it will be a gruesome process, but at the very least you won't have to contend with the fact that you do have you're bringing life into the world to give it to us, right? But don't worry, we have wonderful orphanages. So, another thing is that if you wanted to give us some of your life essence, that would be something that would be very helpful. We have a lot of tinctures and potions that require some life essence to really get going. And we do have some researchers that would really, really love to get their hands on a bit of life essence. Otherwise, if you wanted to, we do accept as one-time payments, recipes of the occult. As I said, we do have we do practice in the art of herbalism, and being apothecaries, we're able to sort of create a lot of potions and a lot of tinctures, but we are not know-it-alls. We do know that we do lack some knowledge, and so if you are able to help us in our journey of scholarship, I do think that would be very helpful, if you had any information upon that we would then use. Now, my personal opinion is that if you don't go with the typical payment, these options are fine and good, but every dragon is a little bit different. There was particularly a dragon that found a loophole that was very interesting. I believe his name was Seath, and because he was already scaleless, and we, the person that processed him was not very observant. So when they were processed, he said that he would pay us through his scales, but because he was scaleless already, he was sort of a genetic mutation. He then just was able to have insurance without necessarily giving us anything. And you know what? That's the kind of swindling that I think makes dragons very clever. Of course, he did die eventually. He tried to sort of attain immortality, and so he ended up getting all mad. And then an adventurer came by and had to kill him to sort of, something about a flame. It's all very complicated, and the lives of dragons are not something to be discussed in sort of this very disrespectful manner, so please excuse me. Okay, so next, of course, I wanted to talk to you about why you should have insurance, right? As we said before, there are adventurers. They are going to come, and it is one of those things where we can set up laws against adventurers. We could tell them to stop doing what they're doing, but they're just going to keep doing it. You know what I mean? So if you really wanted to, you could just try it out by yourself. But, people, what I can say is that only one dragon has died under our care, and it was Seath, the dragon. Other dragons have withered. They've been decapitated. They've been sliced limbless. But they haven't died. So, I think you're better under our protection. Okay. The next thing is that you want peace of mind. As a dragon, you love to sleep. You love to, give a little snooze. I do know, that you do have a CPAP machine. And to be honest, it's very fabulous for you. But, if you're on your CPAP machine, it's pretty noisy, right? And if an adventurer comes by, you're pretty vulnerable. I would say that we give you a sort of level of ease where if an adventurer comes by and they see that you're sleeping and they don't kill you and they just simply steal your stuff, you don't have to worry about it, because we've got you. Next, this is redundant. It does say it's a way to let go. This is really brought up because, there's a fine line between dragon hordes and dragon hoarders. Dragon hoarders are dragons that have hordes, and dragon hordes are oftentimes hoarders. But that's not something we like to discuss very much. And I must say that this is something that, as a company, we're sort of divided as to how we approach it. But just think, it's better for your mental health. There is, of course, location services that we provide. With that means we will scrub your location from every scroll, every tome, and every person's brain that we can find. So what that means is that you will be fairly protected, and it'll be hard for people to find you. And if you wanted moving services, we also provide that. We do offer cleaning services, and what that means is that, say, for example, your hoard gets a little bit too big, right? You're creating little hallways, your hoard is encroaching upon your space. If there's an emergency, you can't get out because your hoard is getting in the way, and, you want to have companions over, but you're a little embarrassed by sort of your hoard, right? So we do offer some cleaning services, but we do guarantee that nothing gets thrown out. This is something that's very important because dragons are very peculiar about that sort of thing. So just be careful about it and just be aware of that. And like I said, we are the best in the market. So let's move on to what tiers you might want, right? So we end up offering, we have a lot of tiers, to be honest. Different services for different dragons, but seeing how you've been talking to me, I've pre-selected 3 tiers that I think would be best for you. So the first is the peasant tier. This would give you basic coverage. So if if something were to happen and, a cave-in, you wake up one day and everything's gone, that would be under the coverage, correct? And we'd also cover disaster coverage. That would be sort of like storms, fires, that sort of thing. We cover that. Yes, of course, your hoard is mostly metal and coins, and so if there was a fire, it wouldn't necessarily do very much to it. A lot of the things that you have are fireproof, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't need coverage, right? So that's the peasant tier. The burger tier, and that's burger like BURGHER. That tier has everything in the peasant tier, plus we have a wizard coverage. So that means that if any adventurers come by and they have a wizard, then that is included in the coverage, because we do think that it's a bit unfair when a wizard is there, because wizards tend to have a lot of power. This is one of those things that as a society we sort of determined that wizards are simply of the same power as rangers and warriors and thieves, but to be honest, wizards have an arsenal that is far beyond any of the more martial, practical ways of combat, I must say. And a warrior can come by and try to slice your head off, but a wizard, they're much more conniving, with the spells. So that's there. And then we also have theft coverage, and that includes other dragons as well. So instead of just adventurers, if you have another dragon, a companion perhaps comes by, gives you a little cheeky kiss, so you have a little one night stand, and then they leave, and suddenly you're like, wow, my alarm clock isn't there anymore. That would be under coverage, right? And then the next tier is the noble tier, and that of course includes everything in the peasant and burger tier, but it also includes magical coverage. So this involves curses. This involves any form of magical, what's the word I'm looking for? If there is something that happens that involves magic, that's covered. So that's going to be pretty overarching. And then we also have a binding coverage. So what that means is that when you are in your nest, when you're in your hoard, and there are other people there, you are now an author of a binding contract. And so everything that goes on in there is under a binding contract that will magically take hold of any entities within the hoard. This is very popular and incredibly powerful. So that's why it's sort of locked behind the noble tier. A lot of dragons are very, very powerful, and they are very confident in their own abilities. So if you don't think that that's something that you need, then I wouldn't really recommend it. But if you're, a fledgling, if you are new to sort of the life, or if you sort of are growing old in age, or even if just, what am I trying to say? If you think you're a little bit weak, a little bit meek, or if you suffer from anxiety attacks, panic attacks, or maybe you have a little bit of the depression, that sort of thing, and you don't have the motivation, this could be something that could how would I describe it? It would be a nice safety net, I would say. So those are the three tiers. So I'll let you mull over what you might want. What do you think? Which one would you like? The peasant tier, the burger tier, or the noble tier? Okay, I can put you down for that. If you ever change your mind, we will, of course, try to talk you out of it. So just be aware and be ready for that. Okay. Now, do you have any special items that you would necessarily want to have a special coverage on them in particular? We offer, how many do we offer? So in the tier that you picked, we offer 5 5 items can be placed in this sort of special item coverage. Okay, you do have some items? Oh, okay. Are they over here? Okay, yeah. Oh, there we are. Nice, okay. So these are all your special items right here? Okay. Well, let's just go through them then, because each one I need to understand what each item is to be able to give you the coverage. So first one, this right here. So this is a carrot. Am I correct? Yes. And how would you say this carrot affects you emotionally and physically and sentimentally? Okay. Well, that's very interesting. Very interesting. So, just taking he's a wee bloke, I must say, but, he's cute bugger. So, you're saying that this is the carrot of destiny. Okay, this is the carrot of destiny. Okay. The carrot of destiny. And so how much would you say you would want for the carrot of destiny were someone to pilfer this creature? Okay. All right. What's next in here? Let's look. Okay. Oh, what's this? Okay. This is the sort of little sticks, aren't they? Do you think it kind of looks like rubbish? Are you sure? Here? Well, okay. I can, you know what? Okay, the sticks of living oak. You know what? I do hear their screams a little bit. I thought it was in my head, but you know what? That's okay. I think I see it. So they are sticks of living oak. Now, how were you able to take them without killing the... Oh, I see. So it's just residual memories of the living oak. So they're not actually alive. They're just screaming perpetually. Fascinating. Okay. Next, we have here... What is this? Is this a bag of some kind? What's in here? Okay. See, there's all different types of balls or some dice. I see, okay. You call them the coins of living greed. Okay. Interesting. Do you think that I kind of want to keep it? Is that the greed topping? I see. Okay, so they're trying to influence me. Well, very, very interesting. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm not going to... No, don't worry. I'm very professional. So the coins of all living greed. Okay. And now I noticed here you have a book. This tome is very interesting. Do you... Oh, isn't this pretty? I see. So you had... It's an illuminated manuscript, you say? Fascinating. Wow, look at that. So, why is this particularly, emotionally or sentimentally powerful to you? I guess you're just a fan of wildflowers. Well, isn't that nice? Having a hobby is very, very good. Okay. Well, all right. So just a book of wildflowers, of course. Okay. Wonderful. So if that's all, then let's just go ahead and get you signed into the contract. So let's go ahead over here, get you a nice page. So if right here, this is an empty page, I need you to sign your name in big, bold letters right here. Here. Just right there. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Absolutely. Okay. We are officially in business. All right then. Well, I will talk to you later then. Bye-bye.